Hey YouTube, it's Eric. This is a quick video here, just a follow up to the last video I did on Dr. Kerry Chant here, that I titled "Proof that Dr. Kerry Chant," and she's the Chief Medical Officer for New South Wales in Australia. But I titled the video "Proof that Dr. Kerry Chant had made the New World Order comments is a papal agent." And I got an email last night from someone who watched the video, and in the video he told me to look at the address. So I pointed out in that last video I did yesterday, and again today is September 11th, an anniversary of the Jesuits quote unquote terrorist attacks that they falsely blamed on Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda. That was orchestrated by U.S. intelligence. U.S. intelligence being totally captured by the Roman Catholic Church. The director and deputy director on 9/11 were both Jesuit trained openly. The director of the CIA, George Tenet, the deputy director, John Brennan. Tenet went to Jesuit Fordham. Brennan, the deputy director, went to Jesuit Fordham. Tenet, the director of the CIA on 9/11, went to Jesuit Georgetown. And actually, George Widger has reached out to me. I'm planning on doing a stream with George later tonight or tomorrow on 9/11. And we'll go into deep detail about the Jesuit connections to that false flag attack that was falsely blamed on radical Muslims. We see here, and this is what I got an email, and the viewer told me to look at the address. So I pointed out in that last video, Dr. Kerry Chant. She's been the chief medical officer of New South Wales since 2008, but she's officially or nominally an Anglican. But but 2 days ago, she made these comments here that I'll just play quickly.
This is very much. Will exposure sites be put back in place, especially with reopening and people going back to pubs and stuff? Because our exposure sites still, will they be put back in place to be listed once we are reopening? Because they're not at the moment.
We will be looking at what contact tracing looks like in the New World Order. Yes, it will be pubs and clubs and other things if we have.
We will be looking at what contact tracing looks like in the New World Order. That's the Jesuit World Order, bringing it back to the way things were in the Dark Ages, where the Roman Catholic Church was all powerful, and creating like a new feudal serf state. But that's what's going on. But you see here, so just 2 months before Dr. Kerry Chant, the New South Wales Chief Medical Officer, made those comments about the New World Order, she was the keynote speaker here at an event titled Catholic School Governance for the Common Good, as I pointed out in the last video. But if you see here, the address, and this is where it's tied into Freemasonry. The Jesuits created Freemasonry in 1717. Totally created it, and I'll show you some sources for that later in this video. It's you just have to look really at the motto of the 32nd degree of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. The motto is Ad Morgium Deo Gloriam. That's none other than the motto of the Jesuit order. We see here, so Dr. Kerry Chant, and this was she gave the keynote address here. It looks like it was a 45-minute address. Looking at the time stamps here on the left of this photo, we see Dr. Kerry Chant. She spoke at it's called the SMC Conference and Function Center at 66 Goulburn Street. But so you type in 66 Goulburn Street, Sydney, and you'll go right here on a real estate website. It's the Masonic Center. It's literally, this building is right attached to the Masonic Center in Sydney. Look at that. The Freemason square and compass right there. Right, wow. Amazing. I thought the Catholic Church and Freemasonry were at odds with each other. Why are they having this Catholic event titled Catholic School Governance for the Common Good? Why is the Catholic Schools of New South Wales putting on this event at the Masonic Hall? Huh. Interesting, eh? Here's this right from the real estate site. 66 Goulburn Street, where this took place, or known as the Civic Tower, is a 24-story office tower built above the Masonic Center and completed in late 2004. You can see so it's attached to the Masonic Center. So to get into this building here, you have to walk through the Masonic Center to get there. Amazing. Look at that. That's right in plain sight. I'll show you more photos. This is like right in downtown Sydney too. Look at that. It's clear as day, square and compass. I don't know if that's sacrilegious. Also, with the address means 66 books in the Bible. There's 66 Jesuit parishes in the United States. Also, look at that, square and compass, clear as day. You can see there. There's another one, Sydney Masonic Center. Right there. This is where the event took place, where Dr. Kerry Chant spoke as a keynote speaker. The event put on by the Catholic Schools of New South Wales. Again, that event was titled Catholic School Governance for the Common Good. You see here, 66 Goulbourn Street, Sydney. That's this building right here, Sydney Masonic Center. Actually, I got some good comments. This gematria actually shows to Kerry Chant. The Jesuits do go by this Kabbalistic code. The Jesuits are very into esotericism and all of that. We see here on gematria, if you type in Kerry Chant and conspiracy, actually are identical. And I pointed out in that last video how the mainstream media was mocking conspiracy theories. Oh, there couldn't possibly be a conspiracy. She was saying this innocently. There's no such thing as a New World Order. We see here, you type in Kerry Chant on the Gematrinator, 123, 51, 147, 57. It's identical to conspiracy. Identical. Conspiracy, 123, 51, 147, 57. We see here, this is why it is called Area 51, because Rome in gematria, that great city which rules over the kings of the earth, Rome in gematria equals 51, right there. You see, in terms of there's another image I want to show you here. It was put on my Jesuit World Order blog recently. This kind of ties into the conspiracy here with Dr. Kerry Chant of New South Wales, but this was Roman Catholic Christine Lagarde. And you see there she is meeting Jesuit Pope Francis. She's had 3 meetings, but Christine Lagarde is now the president of the European Central Bank, former president of the International Monetary Fund. But this was just 6 days ago. She tweeted, "If we don't vaccinate the whole world, it will come back to haunt us and hurt us in the form of new variants. We have spent in fiscal support somewhere around $6 trillion. What is needed of that 1% in order to vaccinate the whole world?" It was like lock, step, and barrel. Jesuit, her boss, the Pope, says we need to vaccinate the whole world. So the president of the European Central Bank is parroting the exact same talking points. Very interesting. Article 51. Is it federal? Federal equals 51. I think that's what federal is. 51, not Catholic. Federal. You see conspiracy. That's just very interesting. Conspiracy and Kerry Chant have the identical all 4 base ciphers. That's very interesting. So I wanted to point that out. And also there was a commenter that pointed out that see here that Catholic Church 75, Supreme Pontiff 75, New World Order equals 75 in gematria, social credit system equals 75. This year's a New World Order and Catholic Church. I've been saying that what the New World Order is the Jesuit World Order, or which is put together by the Catholic Church. See, Catholic Church 75, New World Order 75. Very interesting. Your social credit system is also 75. Boom, right there. This one I thought was interesting here in terms of this, the New World Order and Jesuit, the New World Order and the Jesuit Order gives off the same gematria in the cipher also. See the Jesuit Order, 177.69. New World Order, 177.69. Very interesting. There's more proof that Kerry Chant is a full-on Vatican puppet, and all roads lead to Rome, and it's tied in with the Freemasons here. You see as well, And in terms of, and I'll show you a little quote here. This is an interesting quote from McCoy. Robert McCoy wrote the General History, Encyclopedia, and Dictionary of Freemasonry. And this is on page 181 and 182. This is a little excerpt on the Jesuits here. This is on Matrix, the B Systems website. You see here, he says, Jesuits, the order of this celebrated society was founded in 1534 by Ignatius Loyola, a Spaniard of ardent imagination and earnest spirit, and was confirmed by Pius the Third, or should be Paul III, in 1540. There can be but little doubt that he intended it to be a mystical and contemplative association, resembling in many things the colleges of the Egyptian priests. And the original objects of the order, as promulgated by Loyola, were certainly entitled to respect, to defend and to propagate the faith, to educate the young, to assist each other, to renounce the honors of the world and ecclesiastical dignitaries. Such was the basis upon which was created a fabric that destroyed itself as soon as it lost sight of its first ideal and ceased to be what it promised at the commencement of its career. The Jesuits appear to have taken the Egyptian priests for their model. Like them, they were the conservators and Like them, they were the conservators and interpreters of religion. The vows they pronounced bound them to their company indissolubly, as the interest in politics of the Egyptian priests fixed them in the sacred college of Memphis. Like those ancient priests, they subjected all who aspired to membership into the order the severest trials. Like them, they sent forth the missionaries to propagate and interpret the faith. They were the counselors of princes and the educators of statesmen. You see here, Dr. Kerry Chant, they're the educators of the medical establishment as well. But the order lost its power and received the condemnation of the world as soon as it became the ally of despots and had made the traffic of the rights of man. This would be referring to the brief period of the Jesuit suppression, which again, that's a whole other topic, but the Jesuits mastered the suppression, and that's why they created the Illuminati. For instance, Jesuit trained Adam Weishaupt in that brief suppression period. You see here, and actually, Robert McCoy brings up the Illuminati below here in this excerpt in his Dictionary of Freemasonry. After the Order of Jesus had fallen from its high estate and became merely a secret society of political agitators and intriguers, some ardent and enthusiastic men conceived of the idea of superseding it by a new order that should retain all the good of the old and be better adapted to the circumstances of modern times and the wants of modern society. The society of the Illuminati and that of the Rosicrucians were formed with this aim and purpose. The adepts of the Illuminati were governed by rules nearly identical with those of the Jesuits. Repeat that. The adepts of the Illuminati were governed by rules nearly identical with those of the Jesuits, and the whole machinery of the two orders was constructed after the same idea. Well, and that's coming from an official, Freemasonic source there, Robert McCoy's General History, Encyclopedia, and Dictionary of Freemasonry. Of course, Adam Weishaupt also, Adam Weishaupt was a Freemason. The Freemason model was also used in the foundation of the Order of the Illuminati. You see here, to this day, in 2021, the Catholic Church in New South Wales is putting on conferences at the Masonic Hall. Clearly there's a relationship there going on. Again, the keynote speaker at that event was Dr. Kerry Chant, Chief Medical Officer of Health in New South Wales. But we see here, there's another quote also I want to read from Jean-Marie Ragon. He was a French Freemason. And we wonder, what does it say? With all this open, blatant Vatican control in Australia, we wonder why right before Cardinal Pell's testimony, the top one of George Pell's accusers died right before he was supposed to testify. I had the article up here before from the Associated Press, or Crux now. Here, Cardinal Pell accuser died. And the Cardinal Pell, this is the highest Vatican official ever to be publicly charged with sex abuse. Cardinal Pell of Australia, he was the Vatican treasurer. He's your Cardinal, you can't make this up. Cardinal Pell accuser dies before sexual abuse trial begins. Well, that's pretty convenient for the Jesuits, isn't it? And the Vatican. right before the trial dies, he dies, or right before the trial starts, he dies. His name was Damien Dignan. Supposedly died of leukemia. I would bet that he was murdered. But this just shows the blatant power of the Catholic Church in Australia. Full control. And it just I thought, and I got that email last night. That's why I'm making this video. It's very fascinating that Dr. Kerry Chant made these comments about, or she made the comments about the New World Order and contact tracing 2 days ago. But just 2 months before that, she was the keynote speaker at a Catholic conference here at the Sydney Masonic Center. Pretty fascinating. And I showed her in this video. Her name, matches up with conspiracy in all 4 base ciphers in gematria. But it's not a conspiracy, though, as the National Post has told us. Yeah, but there's one more quote here in terms of Freemasonry. This was the source, Jean-Marie Regon. He actually wrote how the G in the square and compass symbolizes the general of the Jesuit order. And I'll show you that original source here from French. And this was from his book, Cours philosophiques et interprétifs de initiation de ancient. Here, this whole part of the book, he's talking about how you see, right, the Jesuits. He's talking about how they control Freemasonry in its in totality. You see here, I can't really read French, but I'll try my best here. La lettre G, au milieu de l'étoile, la flamboyante représente la générale de Jesuits ou la générale de l'ordre. He's saying here the letter G in the square and compass symbolizes the general of the Jesuit order. That's right up what he's saying. You see that right here? Of course, the square and compasses we saw on that building in Sydney, the Sydney Masonic Center, the location where Dr. Kerry Chant gave her talk at the event Catholic School Governance for the Common Good. You see here the G in the square and compass. That's the general of the Jesuit order. There's the proof of it right here. This is coming from a Freemason. I think you would know. La lettre G, en milieu de l'étoile flamboyante, représente la générale des Jesuits ou la générale de l'ordre. That's pretty, well, and it's amazing how that doesn't get brought up much in the, the quote unquote truther community. Well, again, it's by design. There's lots of controlled opposition out there designed to kind of hide, the power of the Jesuits. They're happy to get you to thinking that the Jews or the Freemasons are the real puppet masters, but that's all by design. Oh, and you can look historically at the Dreyfus affair in France in the late 19th century. The Jesuits riled up the masses into this kind of superstitious belief of a Jewish Masonic plot to take over France. They falsely imprisoned this Jewish navyman, Alfred Dreyfus, when it was actually a Roman Catholic, Count Esterhazy, who committed the treason, because they accused Dreyfus of selling French military secrets to the Germans, but it was the Roman Catholic Esterhazy that did it. He was also a papal knight, but it didn't matter. They whipped up the masses of Germany into an anti-Jewish hysteria, and they falsely convicted Dreyfus. So the point being, though, that the Jesuits do use other secret societies that they control themselves as scapegoats to hide the power that they themselves yield. And again, Dr. Kerry Chant made her speech at the Roman Catholic conference here at the Sydney Masonic Center, which again just shows that there is no quote war between Freemasonry and the Catholic Church. That's pretty good comedy. We see here this is Jean-Marie Regon's thesis, and this was quoted. This was translated into English by another Freemasonic scholar, Arthur Edward Waite, in his book A New Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. This is what he said Jean-Marie Regon's thesis was. He says, in their secret symbolism, the sun at its zenith represented the Society of Jesus flourishing as it was in the days of Louis XIV, the Sun King, who had 3 Jesuit confessors. Two of their names, Father Francois de la Chasse and Michael de Tellier, S.J., both of those men had a total control over Louis XIV. That's why he revoked the Edict of Nantes and started the massacres of, or recommenced the massacres of Protestants in France. But yeah, so the sun in Freemasonry represents the Society of Jesus flourishing as it was in the days of Louis XIV in France. The moon in Freemasonic symbolism was Masonry, eclipsed by that sun, the Jesuits. The Jesuits prescribed and in banishment were figured by a setting sun, while the moon of Masonry was depicted at the full. The Jesuits also adopted the lion as a symbol typifying their own society, and recalling that the Lion of the tribe of Judah, which is one of the appropriated titles of Jesus in scriptural symbolism. The letter G in the center of the blazing star signifies the general of the Jesuits. In generalis Jesuitum e locum de tennis. As I showed you here from Régon's original work in French, the letter G represents the general of the Jesuits in the Freemasonic square and compass. We continue though. Every lodge of St. John in Freemasonry is a lodge of St. Ignatius, the founder of the Jesuit order. The battery of the three knocks in a certain grade of Masonry is an allusion to the three vows of the Jesuits. Next point, Hiram slain is the society destroyed by three companions stationed respectively towards the east, south, and north, or rather England, Scotland, and France, from which the Jesuits were banished in the 16th century. That's absolutely, I guarantee that that's what the actual meaning is, because the Jesuits are, they just take, or they allegoricalize their own, kind of political, like esoteric political agendas, into, some sort of, mystical, philosophic doctrine. But it's all, it's all like allegorizing their own movements, because again, the Jesuits view themselves as the center of the universe, or they view themselves as the creator of the universe. I'll show you that here just quickly in a photo that was drawn by a Jesuit priest, Anastasius Kircher, and that was admitted also by Nicholas de la Bonneville. It's like when another Freemason who says when the grand architect of the universe in Freemasonic symbology is referring to the Jesuit general, because the Jesuits viewed themselves, as like the universe. Now, you see this right here? That's pretty clear in this occultic diagram drawn by Anastasius Kircher. See the Jesuit IHS logo kind of right in the center here. That's just kind of, I guess, symbolizing in alchemy, I guess, like the black sun, or like the spiritual sun. They believe there's like a sun that's in behind the visible sun. You see, the occult iconography is clearly equating the Jesuits to the creator of the universe. And this is in Kircher's book, Oedipus Egypticus. I read the quote earlier in this video from the Freemason Robert McCoy, who says that the Jesuits modeled themselves off of the ancient priesthoods in Egypt. Yes, when you hear, when the Jesuits are referring to the universe, they're referring to themselves. Of course, universal is also like Catholic and universal are synonyms. We see here the 5 points of mastery are the 5 duties of a Jesuit: zeal, vigilance, hardihood, courage, and constancy. The letters IHS in certain Christian grades signify Jesum habeas socium. In 1718, there was a serious debate among the Jesuits on the establishment of Masonry throughout Europe. Many lodges were founded in London between 1721 and 1722. In 1723, there was published in the Book of Constitutions of Freemasonry. Meanwhile, Jesuitic Masonry was in full vigor at the College of Clermont in Paris. Jesuitic Masonry, which began in a tavern after the English manner, was accommodated to the French frivolity by means of banquets. The unknown superiors, or the Jesuits, found it necessary to invent a new symbolical language for the concealment of their designs. To reconquer Palestine was to change religion in England. The last crusade signified the ill-started efforts of the pretender. The Isles of Scotland typified Paris, situated in the Isle of France. Mount Herodom meant the College of Clermont in Freemasonic symbolism. And again, because the Jesuits are just creating, allegorical rituals based on their own movements. The building of the first temple alluded to the Jesuit college erected by Jesuit King James II, who's actually buried right beside the Sun King Louis XIV. He's what's the name of that place? The Palace de Saint Germain. The building of the Second Temple by Zerubbabel was an allusion to the compact between the Jesuits and the Pretender. So that's being like the initiate, quote unquote, in the who's about to rise up into the degrees. The Pretender was intended to play the part of a modern Cyrus and lead them to Palestine for the building of a new temple of Jerusalem. The Chevrolet Ramsey, he was a Knight of Malta and a lay Jesuit. The Chevrolet Ramsey's, quote, Travels of Cyrus was written from this point of view. St. Alban in Masonic legend veils Roman Catholic King Charles I, who we remember when he was king in England, committed high treason, giving British gunboats and ships to Cardinal Richelieu in France, and Cardinal Richelieu used those British weapons and military assets to crush and murder French Protestant Huguenots. And they destroyed the colony of New Rochelle, which was a Protestant stronghold at that time. They were allowed to do that by the high treason of King Charles I. So it makes sense that the Jesuits are going to honor this puppet with a Masonic degree. You see here in St. Alban in Masonic legend veils King Charles I. He, of course, was beheaded by Oliver Cromwell, or not by Cromwell exactly personally, but he was beheaded by patriotic Protestants who wanted to get their country back from the Roman Catholic treason that was taking place. So I was saying, and King Charles I again did commit high treason, so I think that was karma there. But we continue. The Company of Jesus, or the Jesuits, was represented in England by the Grand Lodge of York. The great unknown work is the work of Jesuitry. You always hear shows like like in the alternative media. I know like Mark Passio is a Freemason, and he always talks about he admits to being born in a Catholic family also, interestingly, and he uses the Roman reef on his logo with the all-seeing eye of the Jesuits. But Mark Passio is always talking about, well, we have to do the great work. We see this coming from Freemasonic scholar Jean-Marie Rigon. The great unknown work, or the great work of Freemasonry, is the work of Jesuitry. You don't hear that much from shills in the alternative media. The architect Inigo Jones in English Vitruvius was used to serve emblematically for Inigo de Guasapoca, Ignatius de Loyola. So that's fun. That's what Jean-Marie Rigon concluded there. Freemason himself, very respected Freemasonic scholar. And again, I got an email last night telling me to look at the address at the event where Kerry Chant spoke. And that was here at the Sydney Masonic Center. And again, that was this event here, the Education Law Symposium, Catholic School Governance for the Common Good, bringing back the Inquisition for the common good. Thursday, July 1st, 2021, keynote address, Dr. Kerry Chant, New South Wales Chief Medical Health Officer. You see here is done at 66 Goulburn Street, Sydney, which is none other than the Sydney Masonic Center. Yeah, so I think I'm going to end it here. But paper thesis, are the Jesuits Kabbalists? Absolutely, the Jesuits are most definitely Kabbalists. The Jesuits, I would say, are esoteric sorcerers. Yeah, esoteric sorcerers. That's a good description of the Jesuits. They're very into the dark arts. But I think that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Expect I've been in contact with George. It is the anniversary of 9/11 today, so we're going to be doing a stream soon on the Jesuit connections to that high treason and false flag, which was commonly known as the 9/11 terrorist attacks. But peace and love, YouTube, and I'll catch you on the next one. Actually, hey YouTube, there's something else I wanted to add into the video here, and in the video I did yesterday, and I'll edit this into the stream I just did, but the video I did yesterday on Dr. Kerry Chant, the quote Anglican Chief Medical Health Officer of New South Wales in Australia, I talked about how at the end of the video, when I was living in St. Catharines, I was biking to work and I saw an Anglican church, St. Barnabas, and the logo of that church, St. Barnabas, was a Jesuit IHS. But this just on the theme though of Jesuits and Freemasonry, this is more proof, of the Jesuits involvement in Freemasonry. They love kind of doing putting Easter eggs like this out there. But I'll show you what I mean. So the St. Barnabas Anglican Church in St. Catharines is located at 33 Queenston Street. 33 Queenston Street. 33. 33 degrees in Freemasonry, which the Jesuits wrote all the degrees. And you see here the logo. This is the official Facebook page of St. Barnabas, quote, Anglican Church. See here the Jesuit IHS right on the logo. We're at 33 Queenston Street. 33. So I want to point that out there. So, the connections, to the Jesuits and Freemasonry are undeniable. That's just. And this was I was shocked to see this. Like when I personally saw this when I was biking to work. And this is right in plain sight. This church is like right, kind of in the downtown core of St. Catharines. And you see there's the logo there of this Anglican church, the Jesuit IHS. We see the address 33 Queenston. And there's one other example I have here that shows this. This is like a code or a pattern that the Jesuits do. You see here the AT&T building in New York City. This building looks like a prison. You can say like the Pope's NSA is intercepting all of the calls from this building. Look at that, like no windows. I think that's clear proof that the AT&T is totally working with the NSA. And again, the silver key on the NSA, National Security Agency logo, is on their own website. They say it represents the key of St. Peter, and it's their key to security. And the current CEO of AT&T, I'll show you, was Jesuit trained. You see 33 Thomas Street. 33 Thomas. Is that St. Thomas Aquinas? You said it's okay to murder all heretics? 33 Thomas Street. 33. You see here this Jesuit Anglican church here in St. Catharines, Ontario. St. Barnabas is located at 33 Queenston Street. 33. So I'll show you here though the AT&T CEO, his office, 33 Thomas Street. John T. Stanky, he went to Jesuit Loyola University in Los Angeles, Loyola Marymount University. The same institution was tried to censor my YouTube channel a year and a half ago. John T. Stanky, you see the current CEO of AT&T Inc. He was the former CEO of Warner Brothers, also CEO of Warner Media, which owns also Warner Bros., HBO, Turner Broadcasting Systems, and CNN. You see here John Stanky. Where did he go to school? Jesuit Loyola University, Maryland, or Loyola Marymount University. There's like 4 Loyola universities in America, which in itself is proof of their control. Like, what other university has as many universities in America as Loyola? I think that's it for this one. I just wanted to, you see here, Jesuit. This is the, the ruthless conspiracy that President John F. Kennedy spoke about in his 1961 speech that you can see on my channel, the monolithic and ruthless conspiracy. But I think that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and I'll catch you on the next video.